So guys, what's going on? I hope you guys are well. I hope you guys are staying safe. So guys, we've got some interesting news that has emerged. You know, there's a lot going on between Canelo and Golovkin, which I'm gonna comment on. There's a lot being said. It's very heated. There seems to be a lot of rivalry between the both. It seems to be a lot of beef going back and forth between Canelo Alvarez and Gennady Golovkin. But Canelo Alvarez has confirmed that he will be looking to fight Dmitry Bivol once, you know, after the Golovkin fight. He said he was contractually obliged to fight Gennady Golovkin, but is no doubtedly going to get in the ring with Dmitry Bivol again. He wants that smoke with Dmitry Bivol after being defeated handily by Dmitry Bivol. You know, it was a great performance by Bivol, one that wasn't expected by a lot of people. A lot of people thought that Canelo would be too good for Bivol, and Bivol hadn't really fought at that higher level. I mean, you know, Bivol's performances had been pretty decent, nothing special, but you know, Bivol had been fighting in first gear. He didn't have to get out in second gear, but I honestly don't think he had to get into second or third or fourth gear against Canelo. I think he was pretty easy for him. You know, I don't think the fight was that tough. And was that because, you know, Canelo underperformed? Was that because Bivol is just better than Canelo? You know, we need a rematch to find out what the truth is. We need a rematch to find out whether Bivol is just a better man or Canelo Alvarez, you know, underperformed. You know, that's why I'm really intrigued. There's a lot of speculation that Canelo Alvarez may have made too much money. Canelo Alvarez is not motivated anymore. Well, we'll find out Saturday night if Canelo Alvarez is not motivated. We'll find out Saturday night if Canelo hasn't got the hunger. If Canelo struggles and potentially gets beat or has a very tough fight, you know, there's a lot of expectations on Canelo on Saturday because a lot of people expect him to blow Gennady away. If he doesn't blow Gennady away, then, you know, there'll be question raised once again for Canelo Alvarez. And this is why I say setting the bar that high for any fighter is never a good thing, because setting the bar very high means that the fighter that, like Canelo Alvarez, has very small margin for error. I mean, he needs to go out there and look $1 million against Golovkin, otherwise people will say Canelo's overhyped and hype job or this, that and the other. But you know, the Dmitry Bivol fight, Bivol is a special talent, there's no doubt about it. I think he'll probably beat Canelo again, and I think Canelo should probably avoid that fight. But Canelo doesn't think like me. Fighters don't think like me. We're business people. We look at things for the same option. As fight fans, of course I want to see him fight Bivol again, because I know it's a fight that's a 50-50 that he could potentially lose. And as a boxing fan, I want to see Canelo tested. I want to see Canelo win fights where he could potentially lose. When he fought guys like Billy Joe Supplant, those guys weren't good enough. Although I felt like they would test him, I didn't think they would beat him. I didn't think they had a chance. I, for what first time, said that I was picking Canelo to beat Dmitry Bivol, but for the first time I said I wouldn't be surprised if Bivol pulls it off, because Bivol is a lot better than Caleb Plant, is a lot better than Billy Joe, and these guys are going to test Canelo Alvarez. I did say that, you know, Billy Joe, Caleb Plant will test him, but I did say that Canelo will find a way and bash them up, and that's exactly what happened. But I said Dmitry Bivol is special. Dmitry Bivol is special, but he hasn't performed in a way where it makes me think he's going to beat Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez was a pound for pound star, but I've now seen Dmitry Bivol go in there and put in a masterclass performance. And I think his size, his boxing ability, the fact that he's very consistent with his movement, the fact that he's got great footwork, great hand speed, I think Canelo's going to have trouble with Bivol again, because I just think Bivol is not just a bigger fighter, he's a very smart fighter, and he's a very fast fighter. He's a very consistent fighter. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes, and Canelo's going to have a lot of trouble with him. He has a style that's not very tailor-made or suits Canelo, and I think it's a difficult fight. But Canelo Alvarez, like I said, I have so much respect for Canelo Alvarez, because Canelo Alvarez wants to always put himself in these type of fights, and some people question Canelo's resume, they question Canelo's cherry picking, this, that, the other. I think one thing is for clear: if he fights Bivol again, it's definitely not cherry picking, because Bivol beat him the first time. And I honestly don't think this Gennady Golovkin's a cherry pick. I actually think that a lot of people intentionally try to make out that Gennady Golovkin is shot to bits, so if Canelo beats him, they don't have to give him any credit. I mean, you know, Gennady Golovkin still has the ability to beat Charlo. Canelo still has the ability to beat Andrade. I mean, he could bash these guys up. He still has the ability to beat Benavidez. But the problem is with a lot of guys, a lot of you guys see these guys like Charlo, Benavidez fight nobodies and bash them up, and then you guys call them, oh, these guys are killers, these guys are this, these guys are that. You know, and that's the problem. You guys see these guys fight nobodies and you think that they all of a sudden are some kind of elite fighters. They're not. They've just got a big name and they talk a lot and they've got big names in the sport, but not necessarily they're you know, they're not necessarily top fighters. I mean, they haven't proven anything and they haven't really proven themselves against the elite. I mean, Charlo was having trouble against guys like Korobov. I mean, let's be brutally honest about it. Charlo struggled against Korobov. You know, let's be brutal. Like, you put Canelo in there with Korobov. Imagine if Canelo puts in a performance against who is Canelo put in a performance of a level of fighter like Korobov? When has Canelo gone in and looked that poor against a Korobov type of fighter? I mean, Korobov is not a top fighter. Korobov is Korobov is like not a big name. I mean, at this point. So for me, I think that if Canelo went in there and got beat by or struggled against Korobov, I mean, people would be laughing at Canelo. Imagine the kind of criticism Canelo would get. But Charlo went in there and potentially got beat by, Korobov, and people were like, don't say anything. I mean, they say that this is the guy that Canelo's been avoiding. But imagine if Canelo went in there. Like, who has Canelo gone in there against and struggled against the level of Korobov? Like Lara, people give Canelo stick against Lara. Lara's a special fighter. You know, so was Golovkin. I mean, these are the type of level of fighters that Canelo struggled against. I mean, come on. Lara and Golovkin, I mean, are like 10 times better than Korobov. And Charlo struggled. I mean, even Montiel gave Charlo work. I mean, come on. You know, Andrade went in there and had a wobbly with Liam Williams. I mean, come on. Come on. You know, and let's be brutally honest about it. Like, people need to give Canelo his props. Canelo fights anyone and everyone. You know, give Canelo his respect. Give Canelo his credit. Canelo is a G. He's a G. He's like Ali G. He's a G. You know, he doesn't get his credit, man. He doesn't get his credit, and it's about time you people start putting respect on his name and stop always criticizing Saul. You know, Saul gives us big fights. He gives us entertainment. He gives us the Mexican show. And you know, he's a bit like Anthony Joshua. He fights the best. You know, it doesn't like he's an elite fighter. Canelo's an elite fighter, but I like the fact that he fights everybody. I mean, just because he's not fighting your favorite fighter, that doesn't mean that he's not giving us the fight he wants. Look, Canelo has fought a lot of names. He's fought a lot of names. People say, oh well, that guy was washed up. That guy was washed up. But let's be brutally honest. I mean, they're still way better than the names that, you know, all the other his contemporaries have fought. You know, so yeah, man, I get frustrated. If Canelo fights Bivol again, salute to him. I think he'll lose to Bivol again. Like, perfectly honest, I don't think he beats Dmitry Bivol. I think Bivol is too big, and I think he's too good a boxer. I think Bivol probably beats him again. But look, if Canelo goes in there and beats him, I want Canelo to get that credit. That's why I think, no, I'm not saying I genuinely think Bivol beats Canelo, and I'm not saying that that Bivol beats Canelo because if Canelo goes in and beats him, then I can give Canelo immense amount of credit. No, not because of that. I genuinely believe Bivol will beat Canelo. But I think that if Canelo does beat Bivol, I think he should be applauded and put a crown should be put on his head. That's how much respect and credit he should be getting. But then people would make some kind of excuse. Oh, well, he got beat by Bivol. Bivol was never that good. You see, the same way with Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua beat Andy Ruiz the second time. And people say, oh, well, Andy Ruiz was in his kitchen. You know what I mean? He wasn't training. He was just eating all day. I mean, people love to take away people's credit. You can't all of a sudden take away someone's credit just because... I don't understand. It's like people love to hate on people. Just don't, like, Canelo's giving us the best fights. Canelo's the ones that are giving us fights that are the big fights. I mean, no fighter is doing that consistently back to back. Like, if he's talking about going from Golovkin then going to Bivol, you know, the guys fought Caleb Plant, Billy Joe Saunders, Callum Smith. I mean, back-to-back champions. Who the hell does that in the sport of boxing? No fighter's doing that. No fighter's doing that. So If he goes and fights Dmitry Bivol, salute to Canelo, because it's a fight that I think he loses, and a fight that he knows dangerous for him, but he still wants to go in there. But that just shows Canelo's determination to be the best. You know, I think Canelo deserves immense amount of credit, which he probably never will get by some fans, but you know, he deserves it. He deserves it. But I will say this. I will say this. I think the fight against Gennady Golovkin's not an easy fight. I keep saying it. It's not an easy fight. And I'll reiterate it. It's not an easy fight. Golovkin is a very, very skilled fighter and a very dangerous fighter for anybody, irrespective of his age. He's a very, very dangerous fight. And it's about time people start giving him credit for taking these tough fights. You know, Canelo might not have that long left in the sport. He's had a lot of not easy fights. I mean, he's had a lot of fights that the Golovkin 2 fights, you know, the Jacobs fights weren't easy. The Bivol fight, even the Kovalev fight wasn't exactly a cakewalk. You know, the Cotto fight wasn't easy. You know, Mayweather fight. You know, he's had a lot of tough fights, man. This guy's had a lot of fights. So let's put respect on Canelo's name. Let's put respect on Triple G's name. Let's put respect on Dmitry Bivol's name. You know, Triple G doesn't get enough respect. Put respect on his name. And hopefully, if he does lose on Saturday, maybe I'll make a emotional farewell video for Gennady Golovkin. I mean, he's been a phenomenon for the modern. I think he's been one of the best boxers of the modern era. I mean, Golovkin's been a massive figure in the world of boxing. I mean, he's done so much. You know, his knockout streak, his title defenses. I mean, he was a monster at one point. People avoided him like the plague. I mean, nobody wanted to go near Golovkin. You know, Canelo avoided him for a certain period of time as well. Nobody wanted to touch Golovkin because Golovkin was a monster. I mean, Golovkin was great, you know, and hopefully he gets his credit. But yeah, leave your thoughts, guys. Let me know what you think. I'm gone on a bit of a rant here. But yeah, Canelo confirms he will fight them. He will be looking to fight Dmitry Bivol. What do you think? Do you think that's a wise move, or is that a move that you don't want him to do? Leave your thoughts, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.